Okay, two things I wanted to talk about in the gaming news world this week. The first involves the potential return of Devil May Cry. Look, it's all still early rumor stuff. There's been rumors for years of like a new Devil May Cry or a reboot or a remake or whatever. But this I found really interesting. This was actually an interview with one of the main voice actors of the game during a panel at a convention back in 2024. But thankfully, the Nerd Stash was the first website to actually find this and like bring this to light more recently. That's why we're talking about it, and it specifically centers around Virgil's voice actor, Daniel Southworth. He basically said that he's voicing young Virgil again. Of course, if you don't know, that is Dante's brother, but the quote is this: "In fact, I just finished a video game 3 or 4 weeks ago. I don't want to say any titles or anything because I'm known for spilling the beans, but they asked me to do my voice the way it was back in 2004 or whatever." He said that they asked him, I guess like presumably the studio, "Can you do the younger Virgil version?" So that was challenging. This, in my opinion, could mean anything. As a big Devil May Cry fan, huge Devil May Cry enjoyer has logged on here, like I'm willing to take this little grain and run with it. But there's a lot that you can read into with it. I mean, again, it could be anything. He's a voice actor, he's an actor, he's done a lot of things. It could be some other game that wants him to sound kind of like Virgil. Who knows? But again, like I said before, there have been rumors for a long time now of a Devil May Cry thing. Couple that with the fact that Capcom has been very, very upfront. Like they know they have cool franchises and IP, and at this point, they've been working hard to bring a lot of them back. You know, obviously Monster Hunter been going strong forever, but the revival of Resident Evil has been a massive thing for them. Not to mention the fact that they announced a new Onimusha, which I never expected, and they also just announced like an HD re-release of Onimusha 2. Which is really cool. So it seems like it wouldn't be totally like out of the blue for them to bring back Devil May Cry in some way. Now, it could go one of two ways. With him voicing young Virgil and with him saying, they asked me to do the voice way back in 2004 or whatever, how it was. Devil May Cry 3 came out in 2005. That was the first time like Virgil really spoke, had a voice actor. He is the voice actor. So a lot of people are thinking, oh, is it a remake or a re-release of Devil May Cry 3? It could be. And it seems like very much the move that a lot of these companies do. They remake one of their most beloved games. Not necessarily the first chronologically, but one of the best received ones. And for a lot of people, Devil May Cry 3 is where it all started. For a lot of people, Devil May Cry 3 is the pinnacle. I'm partial to Devil May Cry 1. It's like a weird, different game. They're all very different. They all have their own unique identity for sure. But like the Devil May Cry vibe was really carved out with Devil May Cry 3, so I could see them running with that. But there's also the possibility of, if we're talking remake stuff, maybe they are remaking the original Devil May Cry 1 and filling it out a little bit, fleshing it out a little bit. Like how Resident Evil 2, we got a little bit more conversation and interaction between Leon and Claire, or how Silent Hill more recently did a good job kind of adding little bits to the story here and there. Maybe we're going to get a Virgil that actually speaks in Devil May Cry 1, because for those of you, older gamers, you remember that he showed up, but there wasn't really much to it. That's a crazy idea. That's what I would love to see, like I said, as a Devil May Cry 1 enjoyer. It like inspired me to start I made little like video game magazines in middle school. I was so hyped for that game. Also, I have the NECA control, the NECA release of this Dante from DMC1 is incredible. I love it so much I bought 2 of them. But anyway, I digress. Just always using an excuse to show off things. But speaking of toys, before we keep going on Devil May Cry, a quick word from the sponsor. Check this out. Hey, now before we keep going, this video is sponsored by Funko. Yes, I've never had a Funko Pop before, but apparently they got wind that I am a Metal Gear freak. I've mentioned my Metal Gear collection a lot in these videos, so they reached out and said, hey, we're making Metal Gear Funko. We want to send you some. And so I absolutely had to say yes because they would make a fine addition to my collection, and sure enough, they are absolutely quality. I'm still afraid to take them out of the box. I'm going to, but they sent them to me. I unboxed them. I didn't know what to expect, but I actually got Naked Snake and the Boss, the 2 best characters from Snake Eater. It's really cool to see. The level of detail is really impressive, from the boss's sneaking suit to Snake himself just being prepped and armed for CQC, down to the finger, like the trigger finger glove not having the finger on it. Just a good, fun, lighthearted representation of these characters that I think is going to look pretty good next to all my other Metal Gear memorabilia. Yep, I can't believe it, but Funko, you got me. So if you want to check them out, maybe you're super into Funko Pop, or maybe you're just a Metal Gear collector like me, all you got to do is click the link in the description down below. There you can check out and grab both Naked Snake or The Boss. Big shout out again to Funko for sending me these. Like I said, it's linked in the description below if you want to check them out, but let's get back to the video. There's potential for a lot. And again, if Devil May Cry 3, the most likely, Devil May Cry 1, maybe. Then on the flip side, which is probably what a lot more people want, especially if you've been around with the franchise and you're sick of reboots and remakes, I get it. Make another, maybe they're making another Devil May Cry, a Devil May Cry 6. Devil May Cry 5 ended off in an interesting spot, specifically with Dante and Virgil. United again, for better or worse. And it could have just ended there forever, or I think you could probably do something with that. So maybe they are making another Devil May Cry heavily featuring Dante and Virgil. That would be sick as hell. Maybe they want him to do the young Virgil voice because of flashbacks or something like that. I don't know. Because I also think on the one hand, it's not a series in need of a revival. As far as I'm concerned, Devil May Cry 5 did really well for them. It sold well. And there's a Netflix anime coming out. So who knows what the deal really is. I know I'm talking fast because I really like Devil May Cry. Also, my coffee is just hitting. I apologize. But I think there's potential here. Again, it's one guy saying something at a convention. But oftentimes, these are the little sparks. These are the little inklings of, what could be. Things that eventually end up becoming something. Personally, I vote make a new Devil May Cry, like Devil May Cry 6. Yes. That I want more than anything, because I think there's still so much that they can do with these characters. And like I said, every game feels kind of distinct and different. So I want to see where they could take it. But what if they remade Devil May Cry 2? I'm just saying. I actually think I'm a Devil May Cry 2 defender. But I know where it definitely has its fallbacks. It's definitely a piece of shit in some ways. So what if they remade Devil May Cry 2 and they made it better? And they put a voice-acted Virgil in. I don't know. I'm going crazy here. So let's just move on to the next story. There's a lot of stuff in the news like, oh, Xbox is putting this on PS5, or this company's doing that, or Sony said that. I wanted to drill into something a little bit different because there is a little bit of a history lesson here. So this made headlines this week with PlayStation finally saying goodbye to the PS4. No actual date given, but Gaming Bible spotted this on the PlayStation blog where they announced the new PlayStation Plus games and stuff like that. At the very bottom, they had something called an update on PS4 games for PlayStation Plus, essentially announcing that they are shifting from PS5 and PS4 games on the service and free games offered and downloads and stuff like that to pivoting to just PS5 games. And I quote, as we shift to PS5, PS4 games will no longer be a key benefit and will only be occasionally offered by PlayStation Plus monthly games and game catalogs starting January 2026. So a lot of people are thinking January 2026 is when the PS4 ends it, bites it officially. But as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't really happen until the fat lady sings. And by the fat lady sings, I mean when they cease actual hardware production. That is something that's always significant. I've been in the gaming news, talking about video game business for so long now that every time there's an announcement that a company, an Xbox, a PlayStation, a Nintendo is ceasing manufacturing the previous console, that's when you officially finally pour one out. That's when it's time to end. Also, side note with the manufacturing thing, the PlayStation 3, I believe, was fully ceased manufacturing in 2017. So it can go quite a long ways, more than some people realize. For now, I think with the PS4 has had a pretty strong hold on PS5 because of the amount of people on PlayStation 4 still. I think they had a bit of a harder time converting people over to PS5, whether it was COVID, the launch, the scalpers, and then also, as things rolled on, maybe the availability of big exclusives dragging people over there. With some games still teetering on PS4, some people decided to stick with their PS4, all well and good. So I don't expect PlayStation 4 to officially have its doors shut on it soon, but it is becoming a little bit more of a reality. And I think like last time, like with an Xbox One or whatever, you're going to see things slowly trend towards the new thing. Case in point, MLB The Show 25, one of PlayStation's big things. Obviously not for me. I don't know how to sports, but it's a big franchise, and they are now officially with 25 only putting it out on PS5, not PS4. I think that also, because now it's a multi-platform title, it's also only going to be on the newest Xbox as well. So it's a trend for the whole industry or both consoles, but it's another Sony title only on PS5. And that's kind of going with now some of their more recent games, like off the top of my head, like what, Spider-Man 2, only being on PS5, not like also on PS4. In terms of PS Plus, like I'm not a big user of the service, but in terms of like following the catalog and what they do throw at people sometimes, I think it has served as a good lightning rod for PS4 games that didn't get a lot of attention. You know, some games that launched at the tail end of the PS4's life cycle, or just underrated things that aren't necessarily released on PlayStation 5 as like a new re-release or anything like that. Exposing some of those games to prospective PS5 owners, players, I thought was really cool. So with that phasing out, it is what it is, but the world's going crazy and I'm losing my mind. And like people are already talking about the PlayStation 6. Sean Layden, ex-Sony head, PlayStation head, has been doing a lot of interviews. And most recently, one of his quotes was that while Xbox has pivoted to a lot of digital and stuff like that, and they can, he said that PlayStation is still very much stuck in the physical and digital realm, meaning that the PS6 will probably still offer a disk drive of some sort. Will it be optional like they are starting to do? Probably. But yeah, I just thought that was another interesting little anecdote. We're just gonna have to wait and see. Man, I'm just playing games. I have no time for this. Those are the two things I wanted to talk about. But like speaking of a lot of games to play and little time, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. It's very good. That's not my bonus little thing for you this week. I'm going to save that for a whole dedicated video. I did put out the before you buy on Game Ranks for it. It's a great game for some people, if you have the tolerance for these types of games. I definitely recommend it. But the bonus things I just wanted to chat about today real quick, movie trailers. Yeah, I'm squeezing them in here. Fantastic Four First Steps is cool. I've actually been on the hype train for a while on this one, like following all the leaks and stuff like that. And yeah, the trailer is something else. I think it is an interesting interpretation of the Fantastic Four. I'm excited to see how it's just kind of its own thing. Like it just hopefully will just be a Fantastic Four movie. They're in like their own little universe, their own little timeline, doing their thing. Of course, it's probably all going to tie together somehow. But if this can just exist as its own cool Fantastic Four movie, I'm in. It seems like they are in it, being the Fantastic Four, being the family, and not like the full origin. And I think that has the potential for a lot of fun, specifically comic book fun, weird shit, sci-fi stuff, Galactus, maybe the Mole Man showing up. That's the fun, weird shit I want to see. And especially with it taking place in this cool, like weird kind of retro future world, they have the potential to really do some zany stuff. Whether or not audiences, mainstream audiences who've never touched a comic book can tolerate some of that zaniness, that remains to be seen. But I like the cast. Vanessa Kirby, I think, is like insanely hot and a really, really good actress. Obviously, like Pedro Pascal, sure, interesting kind of left field choice for Reed Richards, but could work. But really, it's Eben Moss Barack, if I'm saying his name right, as Ben Grimm, that I think has some people divided, but I dig it. I think Michael Chiklis was the greatest choice for Ben Grimm, honestly. You know, the makeup is starting to show its age a little bit with it. He had the gravelly voice. He had the blah, 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 blah. But at least for me, and as someone who really, really enjoys The Bear, like, I don't know, Eben Moss Barack, like, it has that kind of East Coast guy vibe. So while his voice isn't growling, it's clobbering time, he's still got that, like, the little bit they showcase him here, he still has that little bit of, like, you know, like that, like, Brooklyn guy, which is cool. There's potential here. I know they can totally whiff it. I hope they don't just do the thing that they do in every movie where they establish a great villain and then kill them off and then you never see them again. It's just such a waste. Galactus being actual Galactus here is interesting. I'm curious to see how the other Silver Surfer is going to go down. I'm not really too familiar with Shala Ball. What is her name? Yeah, Shala Ball. I'm not crazy. I read. I don't know with that, but otherwise, like, I'm just hoping this is just a good time at the movies with good superheroes. And yeah, I definitely talked about that way too long, but my bottom line is just like maybe fresh and different. That's what a lot of people have been wanting from the MCU. So cool. So yeah, but that's it. Like I said, I'm a little jazzed from the coffee. So let me know what you're thinking about everything we talked about this week. The Devil May Cry stuff. Whether or not it's going to be a reboot, a remake, a sixth game. What do you actually want if you're a Devil May Cry person? And then with PlayStation, winding down, when do you think it's actually going to be? When do you think the date is where like the PlayStation 4 is literally donezo? So yeah, let me know when you think the PlayStation 4 is going to actually finally wrap up its doors. Let's talk about any of that stuff. Let's talk about Metal Gear Solid. Let's talk about Devil May Cry. Let's talk about PS4, anything at all, down in the comments. Thank you. I want to hear from you, and you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, all those places. If you get what I'm trying to do here, and I'm just trying to talk about stuff I love, not trying not to be freaking miserable. Clicking the like button helps me. Thank you. But that's it. I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm Jake Baldino. Subscribe because video games. Pizza's on me.